Okay, cool. For those of you who don't know me or might not know me, my name is Oisín. I'm the co-founder of C23 Labs with Oscar and Cremo, an online education platform specifically for tattoo artists. And over the past 3 years, I've personally spoken to over 2,000 tattoo studios and tattoo artists about their social media, marketing, sales, and business skills. I've personally spent over $1 million on advertising spend on Meta and Google for tattoo studios. I've either personally taken, listened to, or read thousands of client and artist sales conversations, and in doing all of this have generated over $7 million in revenue for tattoo studios globally. So today I want to talk about a topic that is very misunderstood, what tattoo artists find very fearful, which is sales and selling, especially as an artist and as an introvert. So today I wanted to kind of get over the misconceptions you might have around sales, explain what sales really is, and make you realize that everything that you think makes you bad at sales as an artist actually makes you really good at sales. Once again, as I said, I want to start this video with a surprising statement. Everything that you think that makes you bad at sales actually makes you really good at sales. Now, when I say the word sales or selling, you probably think of an image like this. The Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort banging his head against the mic, right? Charisma, extroversion, manipulation. And that's a word I want to touch on a lot, which is manipulation. I hear that a lot. Well, sales is manipulative. And that's what a lot of people feel around it. When they hear the word sales or salesman, they immediately think of a sense of manipulation, deception, right? Kind of a lack of trust, that immediate fight or flight defensive mode. But sales is only manipulative if either A, you're selling something you don't believe in, or B, you're selling something that the client doesn't want or need. So what sales really is understanding. Sales isn't about convincing, it's about understanding, okay? By definition, convincing is the act of causing someone to believe that something is true or real. So by definition, you could only be convincing your client if they didn't already believe that they wanted a tattoo or want a tattoo, which is not the case, because if they're following you, they're liking your work, and they're reaching out to you, then they already like your work. You're not convincing anyone of anything. I'll give you an analogy here. Think of a doctor. When you walk into a doctor's office, do they immediately prescribe you medication? No, of course they don't. They ask you questions, they seek to understand what your problems are, they diagnose you with the problem, and then they offer you a solution. Think about this hypothetical scenario for a second. Let's say you walked into a doctor's office and you had some, really big problems, and you wanted to figure out what was wrong with you. And the doctor turns around, he talks about all of his experience, how he went to college, how he has a PhD, all of his awards that he has, all of the clients he's helped before in the past, without even listening to anything that's wrong with you. No matter how much experience he has and how many awards he has, how confident are you that he would actually fix your problem? Not confident at all, right? Another analogy I like to use, because I hear it a lot with artists, which is therapist, right? Think of a therapist. When you go to a therapist, you know nothing about that therapist, nearly nothing. They ask you questions, deep philosophical questions or psychological questions, for 55 minutes of the hour that you have with them. And in the last 5 minutes, they help guide you towards figuring out a solution. They don't even directly give you a solution. They help guide you towards figuring out what the solution is to your problems through your own words, okay? And the reason I like to use therapists a lot is because for most people, they tell their therapist things that they would tell no one else. And that is because there is a deep sense of trust and belief in that therapist. Not because you know them really well, because you feel like they know you and they understand you, okay? And I hear I hear artists say all the time, I'm my client's therapist. Yes, of course you are. But why does the therapy have to start only once they're in the chair? When they really need that therapy, that sense of being listened to, understood, is actually in the sales conversation, to have that trust and belief in you to get in your chair. Another common myth or misconception I hear all the time is, I'm not a salesperson. I'm an artist, I'm not a salesperson. Well, did you feel like a tattoo artist on your first shaky line? No, right? Because sales is a skill set like anything else. It takes time and practice to learn, okay, like tattooing. So I want to let you know that salespeople are actually made, not born. I want to say that again. Salespeople are made, they're not born. No one is born naturally with the skill set of sales. It's a skill set that you learn. In fact, the characteristics that would technically give someone an edge in getting good at sales are all of the characteristics you have as an artist. Heightened emotional intelligence, heightened empathy, a feeling of being able to listen to your clients, right? Understanding, seeing their vision. Okay, that is, in a nutshell, the characteristics that might make someone better at sales, right? Not being extroverted, being loud, being pushy, like you see in the Wolf of Wall Street, right? That misconception. But that's exactly what society tells us, right? Great salespeople are loud, they're extroverted, they're pushy, they're deceptive, okay? But what do clients actually want? Well, what do humans actually want? We want to feel heard, we want to feel safe, we want to feel listened to, we want to feel understood. And congratulations, you're already perfect at this. Because what sales really is a transfer of belief over a bridge of trust, okay? It's you transferring your belief in yourself and your ability to get your client their dream tattoo over a bridge of trust that you've built with them. And the way that you build that trust is not by talking all the time, not by being extroverted, being charismatic, being funny. It's by listening to them, asking them questions. Because the more you talk, the less you're listening. So you cannot build that trust without understanding your client. And the only way you can understand your client is by asking them questions. Because emotional empathy will trump sleazy sales tactics and scripts every time. In fact, the only time you would ever need to use tactics or scripts in sales is, once again, if you're convincing. You're trying to convince someone to buy something they don't need or you don't believe in. That's the only time you need to use tactics. And even if those tactics actually work, okay, even if they do work, how many times have you gone back to a business or a salesperson that has sold you something that you realize you didn't want or need using tactics? Never, right? It's ruined their reputation. So using tactics or scripts don't even mean anything in the long term anyway to build reputation and your brand and your clientele. So once again, you're not convincing anyone of anything. They already want or believe they want a tattoo, okay? The anxiety that you feel around selling and sales comes from you focusing all of your attention inwards. You're constantly thinking about, what if the client likes me? What am I going to say next? When and how am I going to ask for them to buy, okay? I really hope I get this sale. But if you just fully focus and shift your attention outwards onto the client, and changing the phrase in your head from "I really need this sale" to "I really need to understand what my client wants," that will get rid of any anxiety that you have around sales, because your full attention is outwards on the client, seeking to understand them, and there's no mental brain space left for you to be self-conscious about thinking about what to say next. Because once again, the right thing will come to you in the moment if you're actively listening to your client. You won't need to think about what you need to say next. If you're actually listening and understanding, you will know what to say. For example, do you think that your friend, a doctor or therapist, has any anxiety when they're talking to you and offering you guidance on a big decision, right, and listening to you? No, of course they're not, because they're just present in the moment listening to you. When you're giving advice to your friend, are you anxious about what you're going to say next? No, you're just listening, okay? And you need to have that kind of mindset shift when it comes to sales as well. And this is the mindset shift I want you to have, is that you're not a salesperson, you're a consultant, right? You diagnose like a doctor before you prescribe. You seek to understand rather than seeking to sell your product. Because if you really seek to understand rather than trying to get the sale will naturally come as a byproduct, because most clients don't feel heard or listened to ever by any artists. It's so easy nowadays to get clients because most artists don't even care. You know, as much as you might feel it's saturated, it's actually never been easier to stand out, because there's so many people that are commoditized in their way of approaching a client. And this is where I'm getting at, is approaching the client, seeking to understand. That's what sales is. Sales is not as much problem solving as it is problem finding. Because in order to solve a problem, you need to know what the problem is. And in order to know what the problem is, you need to find it. And the only way you can figure out and find it is if you ask questions and you listen to them. So if you have that mindset shift, you shift everything to your client, I promise you, you will never feel anxious about selling again. And you're not selling anything, you're understanding. Now, I just want to touch on one characteristic trait that you really need to have in order to do this, which is you need to have conviction. Okay, conviction in yourself and your abilities and your skill, but also in your conviction of, wanting to get the client the dream result. Because you must genuinely believe that you can get the client the tattoo that they really want and make them happy. Okay, remember, it's a transfer of belief over a bridge of trust. You have to have that belief in yourself. And I know that artists, you're your own biggest critic sometimes. We all feel self-doubt. I don't mean that you have to have 100% conviction in your ability every day. We all have those bad days. But it's not just about having conviction in your own ability. It's also you having conviction that you really genuinely care about your client. Okay, because your job isn't to be the best tattoo artist in the world, right? Your job is to be the best tattoo artist for the client in front of you. What if I genuinely feel that there's a better artist out there for my clients, that is, technically better than me? That's fine. But will that artist give the same attention and time and understanding to your clients? First of all, are they even geographically accessible, right? Are they within the budget? But also as well, I'll give you an analogy here. If I want to get my lawn cut, right? I want someone to mow my lawn. I'm sure there's a world-class lawn cutter out there that can mow my lawn better than anyone else in the world. But all I care about is that the person who cuts my lawn the way that I want it cut. Right? I don't need it to be the best lawn cutter in the world. And it's the same for you with your clients. Your clients don't need you to be the best artist in the world. They just need to be happy with the results. If you can do that, then you should have 100% conviction in yourself. Okay? And when you do feel that self-doubt, the best thing you can do is go back, read your client conversations, read your testimonials, watch videos of your clients happy, remind yourself of the impact you've made on all of your previous clients. Okay? And remember as well, if anyone has come back to you more than once, right? They value you and they value everything that you do. And the real kicker here, the real way that you'll never feel anxious again about selling, is be willing to give advice to someone that doesn't benefit you in the short term, because you don't sell to someone you can't serve. If you talk to a client, you seek to understand them, and you realize, hey, they want a tattoo or they want an artist relationship that I can't give them, be okay with passing that to someone else. Because if you do that, then you're genuinely in the mindset of, I'm going to help this client make the best decision for them. I'll give you a great story of a client that I had that did this and actually really benefited them and their reputation. So I had a client who was a realism artist, a very talented realism artist, but really hated portraits, was not very confident in family portraits. And they had a client come to them and ask for a family portrait, and they were honest. They said, I'm a realism artist, but I'm really not comfortable in family portraits. I'm going to pass you off to my friend who I know will do a great job. So the client went to the friend, got the family portrait. Now, what happened was that client had 2 or 3 friends that wanted realism tattoos. Did that client refer his friends to the family portrait artist? No. He actually referred the realism clients to the original artist who didn't do the family portrait because of the honesty and care. And he felt like the client felt like the artist had their best interest at heart. So he actually got referrals from a person that didn't even become his client because of the honesty. So if you really seek to understand your client, number one, you won't feel anxious because you're not selling anything. You're not convincing anyone of anything, if you remember. But number two, your word of mouth and reputation will spread either way because people will know you're honest, genuine, and that you genuinely care. So on that note, that wraps up this video. I just wanted to do a quick rant about selling and sales and hopefully help you overcome some of the stigmas, the anxiety that you have around selling, and make you realize, as I said, everything that you think makes you bad at sales, listening, empathy, emotional, being quiet, being introverted, makes you really, really good at sales. And you're not a salesperson, you're a consultant. And if you shift that perspective and you seek to understand your client, the sales will come as a byproduct. By the way, if you're enjoying my content and you feel like you're learning something and you want to kind of get more personalized help with your marketing, your social media, psychology, client sales conversations, there's a link in the description, the first link below. You can actually apply to work with me one-on-one. So you'll get access to 40 plus hours of content on all of the stuff I talk about in detail. You'll have direct access to me in the DMs for any time. You can send me your content, sales conversations. And I do weekly calls, live calls every week where you can jump on, ask questions, and be part of a community that's, trying to figure out the same thing, which is the marketing side. So yeah, if that's interesting to you, you want to work with me a little bit more personally and get some more personalized help on your social media marketing and sales skills, you can click the first link in the description below and you can apply, and we'll talk soon.